Hello, my beautiful friends. I come to you today with a new video about how I specifically cleanse people's energy. This can give you a little bit of an insight of how psychic ability works, how you could try to tap into your third eye and your psychic abilities. I truly believe that everybody has psychic abilities and access to intuitive, higher dimensional abilities. It's just about whether or not your energy is clear, your third eye is open, you believe in yourself, in these things, and you're you're working through your fears and you're letting yourself have access to them. But the point is that I want to try to bring you this video today. I've had people ask me about how do I cleanse someone's energy? What am I seeing? What does that even look like? How does that happen? Hopefully this gives you some insight into things that are available to you in this world of people cleansing your energy, but also mainly how you could cleanse your own energy and how you could work with this. So very excited. So how it works for me personally is I am clairvoyant, so I see things. And what is happening is I usually, I'll take you kind of through my whole process. Usually somebody reaches out to me and they are going through something where they feel like they have an energetic weight on them. They feel like maybe an old past life is coming up. Maybe they're just curious. Maybe they feel heavy and they don't know why, or they're stuck in a specific emotion and they don't know why. Or maybe they're really feeling like panicky and stuck. I've had people call me and be like, I don't know who I am right now. I'm going through a horrible time. I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. I need help. I've had people that call me and they're just like, I just want to know what this is. And so it's all over the place. And so what I usually do when I'm setting up a session is I can, the way that psychic abilities and clairvoyance and all different types, you can have a sense of audio, you can have a sense of knowing. There's different levels to psychic abilities, and I will go over that in a future video, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. Or let me know in the comments below if there's something you have a specific question about. Where that's going or what's happening is that it's almost like you can imagine, if you've seen my video about why we dream, I talk about the astral realm, and it's this realm that things instantly manifest, and it's kind of like that. There's another realm that is existing on top of ours. Realm isn't quite the right word. What is actually happening is that we all have a sixth sense, okay? We all have this sense of energy. We can feel energy, we can understand it, we can know it, we can see it if we allow ourselves, if we know it's there, if we know how to work with it and to heighten that in ourselves. And so there's kind of a couple things happening. There is somebody who has their clairvoyance flowing or their psychic abilities flowing. Is for me, for example, I see things on other people. I see what is attached in their energy. I also get knowings. So I also all of a sudden have a poof. I don't even, it's hard to explain. It's the conscious me is watching it happen and understands that all of a sudden this stream of knowing is just coming into me and through me and to the person. And the conscious me is back there being what am I saying? Where did this come from? How do I know this? Now I'm at the point in my experience that I know it's coming from the universe, it's coming from a spirit guide, it's coming from an ancestor. I'm channeling, okay? And so that's how I'm giving the other person information, is one way. So I can see things on an energetic realm, which we can all have this sense of our energy. It's like when you feel somebody's attracted to you. It's you're feeling that they're sending you the energy of attraction, okay? And so if we try to tune into it, you can eventually see that. You can see, it's how people can see auras, things like this. But I don't just see colors, I see a lot of different things attached to people, whether it's a density that's an emotion, whether it's a literal physical object that represents an emotion, represents a past life, Maybe it's an actual like energetic attachment that somebody else put there, or is from another life in another place. The other thing that can be happening is when you have psychic abilities, and again, I think everybody does, so when you're tapped into your psychic abilities, is that you can kind of see through the veil. And when we're in our denser form as a human, when we're detached from our psychic abilities, we can't see through this veil. And there's like all these other things going on around us that we can't see. And so that's why like some psychic mediums can talk to ghosts or past loved ones. It's like they could be seeing through the veil to a higher dimension of like an angelic realm, and spirit guides, or they could be in like past loved ones that have crossed over, or they can be seeing through the veil into a lower dimension of a loved one that's maybe stuck on the earth still and they need help crossing over or something like that. And again, let me know in the comments below if there's a specific video you want me to do about explaining any more into that. But that was just to kind of give you a base of what can happen. So let's move on to my process. And so what I do is once I have somebody reach out to me, sometimes they call me and they like instantly need a session right then and there, and I drop everything and I help them. Or sometimes they're like, okay, we'll book for next week. Cool. Next month. Cool. Whenever we can align, that's great. And from there, when it's time for the appointment beforehand, I will do a big meditation. I ground myself. I try to connect with my guides to call in protection and love, and to help with my abilities, help me to make sure I'm channeling to them what they need, and that I open myself to do that, but in a protective way. Where I'm putting up like protections, but again, letting things flow. I'm not blocking information, I'm just protecting my energy from anything getting stuck, but I'm allowing things to flow through me. I also cleanse myself. I usually do this with Palo Santo or sage or copal. And the beautiful things about those is those have been used for many, many thousands of years in ancient different types of medicine and religion and spirituality and shamanic and all these different things to cleanse us. They do legitimately have cleansing properties, but the thing that actually enhances the cleansing is your intention behind the cleansing. So I sit and I, with a strong intention, cleanse myself with smoke called smudging. In my energy field, and I cleanse the space, even if it's a virtual energetic cleansing, which, because what I'm seeing is energetic, because we're connecting energetically, that transcends time and space. Or because I'm looking into other realms, that the astral realm, those things, they transcend time and space. There is no space, there is no time. So I can see and do this virtually, which is why you'll maybe run into a lot of psychic mediums or energy cleansers who are now working virtually, now that we're in this digital age. So that is why. And so what happens is I'm still going to set up a container. I'm going to intentionally cleanse my space, and I'm just using the smoke, the Palo Santo, the sage, the copal, to enhance, to send my intention through it to fill and cleanse the space. So I can also just do that in the person, in my client's space. I'm doing that in there. I'm sending that intention to cleanse their space, to cleanse our connection, to hold this container, okay? So my first step is making sure I'm grounded, I am protected, I'm open and flowing to channeling. I've got my guides with me, to help my clients. I have cleansed myself, I have cleansed my space, I have cleansed their space, I have cleansed any energetic containers between us. And then I will usually also, I don't necessarily call in their guides because I don't want to do anything with their energy without their permission, but I do try to I do kind of like pray to their guides, like, hey, you know what's best for this person. Please protect them. And it's not that they need like any sort of like protection. Usually, if anything, us doing an energy cleansing and a healing is what's actually giving them more protection. It's actually cleansing anything that's harming them off. But of course, I'm still going to pray to their guides for protection. And then usually I'll call in and ask the guides eventually for assistance and knowledge and to channel through me. But I will do that after making sure I'm having a conversation with my client and that that's something that they want. And so then we start our session, and I show up. We do like a grounding meditation. I get them comfortable. We have a conversation. I have them ask me any questions. I'm like, is there anything you specifically want to look into? Or are we just doing a full body cleanse? How much time are you willing to spend with me? Is there anything I should know that you don't want me to do? Is there anything that, can I call and connect with your guides? Is that okay? Do you want to know what your guides are or who they are? That kind of thing. And I've come to learn, in full transparency, is that I can't always answer the questions that they first start off asking me, but what ends up happening is I give them the answers that they actually needed the whole time. And so usually at the end of a session, my clients are just like, just, that was perfect, thank you. But just so you understand, you can bring me questions, you can bring intention to any energy healer, and you will still get the answers that you need. But what I mean by this is that what happens in a session is that the person just kind of wants me to just look at their energy system overall. And so what I'm doing is I'm literally looking at your energy, your aura that is around your body and also inside of your body. And so I have the person usually lay on their back, nice and comfortable, again, virtually or in person. And I'm looking, and I just kind of close my eyes, my physical eyes, because I'm looking with my third eye. And I'm just opening myself, and usually I instantly see something. And for me, it's not that I'm like seeing everything that's attached to the person all at once. I usually see one thing at a time. So whatever's like, and it's almost as if it feels really divinely guided. It's almost like I am going to see the thing that the biggest thing that they need to work on now, the thing that's meant for them to, or the thing that's harming them the most now, or the thing that needs the cleanse the first. And so usually I see something, I can give a lot of different examples of this. And usually it's like things, it's like physical looking things. And they can manifest in a lot of ways. Like, for example, before I saw on this woman a tornado, like a dark tornado going into her head with like a, what are the staffs that mermaids have? A trident, like stuck and stabbing her in the head. And I was like, hey, I see this like trident in the middle of this huge tornado in like the middle of your head, like coming off the side of your head. And so what I do is I instantly see something and I start to describe it to the person. I'm looking at it with my third eye and I'm using my words to talk to you and to tell my clients what I'm seeing. And usually they have some sort of feedback for me, right? And so I use what I'm seeing, and I'm usually able to use my intuition to be like, okay, I think that this is a past life, or okay, this seems like a energetic or emotional manifestation from yourself, or this seems like somebody else put this here. Or also sometimes they are able to tell me like, oh, like that makes so much sense. Like, for example, when I did this for a client, she was like, oh my gosh, I've been having the worst splitting migraines there and I don't know why. And so we worked through this and I was like, yeah, well, it actually comes to seem like this tornado is self-imposed. It seems like you have a tornado of guilt that you are like putting into your mind and you're trying to like scramble your own like thoughts because there's so much pain and fear and guilt. And the trident is like, was representation of the water, the ocean. I was like, you're like stabbing yourself. It feels like somebody stabbed you in another life, metaphorically, but there's something to do with the water. And so working through this together, we came to realize that what was happening was that she had committed suicide in a past life and drowned in the water. And she had also had a really rough life where she was abused. And so that's why she did it. She felt alone. And then she had died feeling a lot of shame and guilt and anger. And so she was carrying this with her. And so we took her through this whole experience, or I took her through this whole experience. I say we because I was definitely divinely guided. But we took her through this whole experience of connecting with that past life, which, to be fair, she was already aware of this past life, okay? But she had not healed it or worked through it. So took her through this past life, had her meet this past version of herself, witness her pain, feel her pain, forgive her, and then forgive herself for still carrying that pain. And the pain and the wound was created by a masculine. So she had this very rough dynamic in this life of the masculine and feminine. And so we called in another previous life of hers where she was a man. And we called in his assistance to help us heal this together. And she, this like past version of herself as a woman, and she came to realize that the past version of herself that was the man was actually, even from a previous life, that was an abuser. And he was abused as a child, and then he then abused his wife. And then if you can look at my video of how karma works, but just to explain, then she created herself karma, where she then needed to be the abused to balance the karmic wheel, to complete the cycle. And so she was an abuser in a far past life, only because, again, that male version of her was abused as a child. We're all, we all go through these things. And then the female version of her, that was the one that had stuck this like huge, horrible, like just like a tornado of self-guilt, that she'd killed herself in pain for never being seen, for being abused by the masculine. And she used to have all these dreams of drowning in the water. And so that version of her and this past female and the past masculine came together, and then her current self, that came together, and we had them hold each other, and they cried, and they loved each other, and they forgave each other, and they witnessed each other's pain. And then eventually when the current version, the current woman that in this life that I was speaking to, when she was ready, she let these two past versions of herself finally walk into the light and be free and cross over and transcend. And they had been in the shadows for so long that I took them on this journey where they were still in the shadows and healing each other and seeing each other and witnessing and forgiving each other. And then I had them cross over into the light. And she said they just jumped for joy. They had been in the shadows for so long that they hadn't seen themselves. They hadn't seen each other. They hadn't felt witness for so long that finally they did that. I literally have goosebumps. And so it was beautiful. It was an incredible experience. And as she's doing these things, I'm playing music, I'm putting her into meditations. After she was crying, I'm holding space for her. I had made sure that beforehand she was set up with blankets and pillows so that she was really comfortable. And then afterwards, she just fell asleep for 15 minutes. And then she woke up and she was just like, that was so profound. That was incredible. I've transformed. I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready to live life. And so that is kind of an experience of what can happen. Another way that energy healing and cleansing can go. Oh, I'm sorry. In that woman's too, before, we were done, before she had parted ways with her past lives and they had crossed into the light, we had come to realize another thing that I had seen in her. Once I had pulled the trident out of her head, I cleansed the tornado off of her, and that's when she could finally see straight and think straight and realize it was this past life, and then we called it masculine. And as these three are working together in the shadows, her current self, her past woman, and the past masculine, I'm then, how it works for me is then I see the next thing. And the next thing I see is I was like, your heart is charred. You almost have been setting your heart on fire out of so much pain that you've experienced in the past, and so much shame in yourself and your own experiences that you have been just burning your heart and burning it, and the darkness and the char was spreading out throughout her body. And so I spent a long time as her and her two other previous selves, as I instructed her for them to just be holding each other and witnessing each other and loving each other and doing whatever they needed to do. And then I was cleansing her heart, and I was telling her, I'm pulling the ash out, I'm pulling the darkness out, I'm pulling and again, of course, I'm asking her permission. Is this okay? Can I do this? This is what I see. So my steps are, I see something, I tell them what I see. We're kind of working through it together of what it means. Or sometimes I know what it means. Sometimes I'm aware that they know what it means and I need to let them tell me. They need to be witnessed in that. And then I'm asking them if I can remove it, and then I'm cleansing them. Or if I think that they need to, usually there's nothing energetically that I think that they need to remove, I do that. Especially because I have the experience and I know how to work with my energy system in my field to make sure that there isn't anything lingering, to really cleanse it, and I know where to send it and how to send it away, which you can look at my video of how to cleanse your energy field if you're interested in doing that for yourself, or how I do that. And so but then I took her through the experience of her deciding if she wanted to let go of those past life versions of herself, or if she wanted to keep their energy in her system. I always advise my clients and everybody that we should reset. We should we should release everything. Send it either back with love and gratitude or let it move on. But it is always their choice. If they feel ready, I can't force them to do that, right? And so at first she did not feel ready. And then as we went through the process of finally, she told me, she was like, hey, I want to release them. And then I guided her through the process of letting them go. And she did that, okay? So that's one example of how an energy healing or cleansing would work. Another way that it could work is a more like, I don't want to say basic, but kind of like a way that it works is that somebody will come to me and they'll just not know what's going on with them. And they'll just be like, hey, I want my energy cleansed. Like, is this something we should do regularly? And they didn't know or feel like they could do it themselves. But they just felt a calling to get it done. And so this person's laying out in front of me, and again, he doesn't like have any specific questions or things. He's just like, look at my energy, tell me what's there. And so what happens is I see one thing at a time, and I'm explaining to him what I'm seeing. And again, I always suggest that we want to cleanse everything off. But usually what's happening is that I'll be like, okay, for example, in this man, we cleansed a lot of things, and we kept just I would see something, I would explain it. I would either tell him where it came from. Usually I'm always the one that's explaining where this is coming from, and they're usually the one that's validating it. And they're like, whoa, yes, that totally makes sense, because I've always had this fear. It makes sense that I had that past life, or yeah, my grandma did that to me, or yeah, and then sometimes they're sobbing and they're just not shaking because they're but shaking because we are releasing energy, we're moving energy. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, you twitch sometimes, it's like your body needs to release energy, okay? So, that's happening as an overall for the process. But as an example of how I kind of would take him through, or how I would take a client through something, is I am cleansing something off of him, and then all of a sudden we cleanse that, and so I open myself to the next thing, and there was a lion on fire that just came off of him and into my face. And I was like, whoa, okay, this thing is trying to get my attention, this thing in your energy. And I explained to him, and usually I don't always know what is happening at first. It's I have to sit with it, I have to talk to it, I have to work with it, and so I'm like, okay, I just saw a lion on fire just came at me. He seems angry. He's on fire. He seems really sad and really exhausted. He just seems like he needs to be seen. And okay, now he's kind of collapsing out of exhaustion, and he's so sad and so heartbroken. And the man's just kind of laying there, just absorbing this. His eyes are closed. My eyes are closed for the most part. And I keep taking him through this. And I keep learning new things about the lion. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I actually think the lion's you. And then I'm like, no. The lion was your spirit guide. In another life, he was your animal guide. And okay, I think in this life you died brutally. And I'm like, ooh, I actually think you were burned. And then I'm like, okay, actually you were a man. You were a witch. You were a man in another life who had abilities. And you were younger, it seems like you were late 20s, and somebody accused you of being a witch, and you lived in a time and a place where they wouldn't even give you a chance and an opportunity, and they would burn you at the stake. And so you were burned at the stake, and I'm getting visuals, and I'm seeing him dying, and I'm explaining to him, and I was like, you had this this love who couldn't help you. She had to just watch you burn, and you just died watching her, watching you, and your guys' heartbreakings, and your families just watching you, and nobody can do anything. And there's this man that condemned you, and you weren't actually doing anything bad or practicing. Like, yes, you had intuition, but you weren't actually practicing much witchcraft. What actually happened was there was this man who was jealous of you or wanted what you had and accused you of witchcraft so that you would die. And so you were kind of wrongly accused. And not even that witchcraft is something ever worthy to be burned at the stake for. And so then I'm seeing this man's face, and I'm describing him, and I'm like, hey, I think you know this woman, your love, she's with you in this life again too. And at this point, the man's just sobbing, and he's like, I know, I feel it. I've always had this pain. I've always felt this way. And I'm like, I feel like I'm going to lose like the love that's in my life now. I have this terrible fear of losing her. And so he's relating, and he's having all these realizations, and he's sobbing so much that he doesn't even know why he's sobbing, but what I'm telling him, his soul and his subconscious knows so much, and he's connecting to so deeply that he's just like releasing all this energy, and he's finally witnessing this pain. And when you die tragically, a lot of your past lives, especially if we're not aware of the way energy works, we're just carrying them with us in our energy system, which is why it's really good to cleanse your own energy and get your energy cleansed. But when you die traumatically and suddenly like that, with so much emotion, or like my previous example of the woman who killed herself and drowned, wow, that's why that's one of the first things I see when I'm cleansing somebody, because it's so heavy and it's so traumatic. And these people that are alive in this life have been carrying this their entire life, their entire existence, and it's really difficult. And so finally they're being witnessed, and they're like, I felt this way my whole life, but I didn't know why. And their subconscious and their soul knows it, and so they're releasing it. And usually also they carry a lot of fears in this life, a lot of things that they don't understand why they carry. And as I'm speaking it out to them, what's in their energy field, what I'm seeing, what happened to them, they finally feel validated as to why they have these like irrational fears, or just doesn't just be a fear, it could be a lot of things. And so then they can move on with that information, understanding, okay, I'm not actually going to lose my love in this life. I don't need to cling to her so deeply. But also, I can share this with her, and I can have her hold me, and maybe we can cry together over the fact that we lost each other in another life like this. And we can be so grateful for the fact that we have each other now, and we can move on, and we can heal each other, understanding ourselves on a deeper level, rather than just carrying this and reacting and acting from it, but not knowing what's happening. So we worked through that man's past life, and we understood what happened to him, and we understood who was karmically in this life again with him. And this lion that originally appeared to me, that we realized was actually his spirit animal, that was then like carried in his energy system, that was like so exhausted and so sad and so angry and like on fire itself because that happened to him, was finally able to rest in the fire. We put the fire out on the lion, and usually this doesn't happen. Usually I cleanse everything, but I'm open to whatever's there to communicate with me. I'm also open to the person that I'm cleansing. Like, it is their choice if they want it cleansed. And so I'm suggesting to this man, hey, we should let this lion finally go into the light. This lion has lived far many lives with you. It is exhausted, and the lion wants to. The lion's tired. The lion needs to recharge and move on. And the man did not want to let the lion go. And I'm like, totally cool. Like, you and the lion are the ones that are connected. I am just connecting to this lion for a short amount of time. It is you that are deeply connected. You know what's best for you. And even if you're deciding something that you want to keep it and you don't feel like that's, if you know that that's not what's best, but you still decide to keep it, that's beautiful. That's on you. You can do anything you want with your intuition, and you're meant to work through your things the way you're meant to work with them. And maybe there's lessons, or maybe there's things to gain or things to learn by continuing to keep that thing with you that I don't understand. And so I'm not gonna force you. I will always honestly give my suggestion though, and tell you truthfully. And so we continue to work through his energy and stuff. We're pulling other things off of him, and he's released his tears and he's more calm now. And then he says to me, hey, I've come to decide that I do feel like I do want to let this lion into the light. And that he was starting to connect with the lion. He was finally feeling the lion again. And that him and the lion had decided that it was time. And so I guide him through letting the lion cross over into the light finally, and this moment of just love, just deep love for this spirit guide that has guided him for so long, but has also held his pain and his rage for him for dying in that other life for him for so long, and trying to even protect his future, his current life, from experiencing that by the lion carrying it himself. This is really a beautiful relationship. This spirit guide, what it did for him. And so it was really, the man's crying when the lion, there's so much love and joy, and he's crying out of love, and he lets the lion go into the light. And then this beautiful, incredible thing, this angelic lion, a couple moments later returns and tells me to tell him that he will always be watching over him, that they are not apart, that he didn't actually let him go, that he is cleansed out of his energy system, but that he will continue to be an angel looking over this man. The lion will continue to be an angelic being, angelic guide, watching over this man. And I tell him this, and he's just weeping of love and joy, and he's like, this is why I didn't want to let him go. This makes so much sense, because he's going to stay with me. And so he's not in his energy field, which is beautiful, because why we like to cleanse things out of your energy field is so that you can be in your own energy. You can exist in your own energy field. You are not confused or distracted or being pulled in different directions or being manipulated or, in a tornado of other people's, other lives, emotional energy. When we cleanse these things out, you can really become in alignment with yourself and your path and your purpose, and live your life the way you're meant to, the way you came into this life to do. It's a really, wow, it's a beautiful gift to be able to work with people in this way. And it's a beautiful gift to be able to teach people how to work with themselves in this way. And so usually, again, I'm very open. If you don't align with me, but you feel called to do this, and I'll tell the person, I'll give them suggestions of other people that can do it. I will also openly try to do my absolute best to teach them how to do it themselves. I think everyone is intuitive and can do these things. But sometimes it takes time, and it's hard to get in touch with those things. And sometimes the ironic thing is that in order to get into touch with our abilities, we have to cleanse our energy. And so, please let me know if this makes sense, if you have any more questions, if there's things you want me to clarify or do another video about, put it in the comments below. Also, if you have more questions and you want to reach out to me personally, or you'd like me to take you through an energy cleansing or healing, there are links in the description below. It's really beautiful to have a community here and to be sharing this information with you. I really appreciate your time. I send you lots and lots of love, and have a beautiful day.